Welcome, everyone. I want to thank you so much for joining this session of the Master's Program. I'm Jeff Gerhardt. I'm here today to talk to you about your life in a way with which I doubt you've heard before, and that's to consider what will be the end of your life and understanding the end, what will be eternity in your life. Again, I'm Jeff Gerhardt with the Master's Program, and we work with men and women who are in business in the marketplace who have decided for themselves that they were made for more. But to decide that you were made for more is to say that all of these good things that God's blessed you with, your time, your talent, and treasure, can be leveraged for something that would be on purpose. So much of our lives is spent in our careers and raising children that oftentimes we haven't even looked over the horizon to say, what will happen when those things have slowed down, changed, or what will be in the end? Well, we live unusual, extraordinary lives that I want to describe for you. Today, we'll be talking about some examples around extraordinary lives that you'll be able to look through this and consider, where do you fit in that picture? Here, I want to talk to you about an extraordinary baseball player named Shohei Ohtani. Now, Shohei Ohtani started off in Japan, where he had an incredible capability to do something that no one in the US was doing, and that's to both pitch in excellence and hit at incredible elite levels. Now, if you know anything about baseball, you understand that at some point someone's going to tell you, listen, you're only going to be able to do one of these things. Decide for yourself. Are you going to be a great pitcher? Do that. Just go deep there, concentrate on being an incredible pitcher. Or if you're great as a batter, or you enjoy that more, is that what your passion's at? Great. Do that. Field good and hit good, but you're going to have to choose one. Well, he was doing both in Japan, and he thought to himself, hey, I can bring this to the US at an elite level. And in fact, he's done that. In recent years, he's had an incredible pitching record, one with which many have thought he is one of the best ever. His win-loss record in recent years, 9-2, with an extremely low earned run average. The amount of innings pitched and strikeouts are incredible. So much so that Sports Illustrated recently said that he has the most unhittable pitch in the modern era. His split finger fastball, that's a fastball that goes straight until at the last moment it dives down, is so incredible that opposing hitters have a .063 batting average. The amazing pitch that he's got in that, and his incredible ability to stun pitchers, it would be enough if that was all that he did. But in fact, his incredible hitting goes alongside of that. You see, at this elite level, he is hitting home runs, as so much so that it's greater than the greatest of all time. And his ability to hit has led him to be both in the discussion as the American League most valuable player and a runner for the Cy Young Award winner, which, to be the Cy Young Award winner, would mean that you are the best pitcher in one of the American or major leagues. Now, fix your eyes on this. If you understand anything about baseball, you know that Babe Ruth has been known to be the greatest player of all time. He too, for a period of years, both pitch and hit. Shohei Ohtani's years that he's strung together here, Sports Illustrated put him next to Babe Ruth and said, look, he is having the greatest seasons of all time, so much so that he's greater than Babe Ruth. That's an amazing statement. For someone who didn't start their career in baseball in the United States, where baseball was born, started it in Japan, rose to excellence, and pushed back on the institution. Said, hey, I know what you think of baseball and the way it should be played, the way it should be practiced. I'm different. And the big question for many people has been, how is he achieving this? How is he putting it together? What makes him able to continue to manage his body, his mind, his spirit, his soul, in a way with which he would approach the game with an incredible capability. Well, there's a quote that was in that Sports Illustrated article. It's a Japanese proverb that caught my eye. It says this: "The frog in the well knows nothing of the sea." And you can understand that born into a culture, we have limitations with which we think the only thing that can be achieved is what I know. And if all I know is this well around me, how could I imagine the vastness of a sea that would sprawl out so much further than I've ever imagined? Well, perhaps you feel that way today. As you're considering your life, maybe you've been like me, looking up at the ceiling late at night, thinking, is this it? Is this everything? God, is this all you made me for? Is there more than this? Well, let me ask you your status. While you're considering some of those questions I just posed to you, maybe you're thinking that I'm so busy, the best thing I can do for the kingdom and my family is be an ATM, a bank machine. You're a moneymaker, and that's what you're good for. Maybe you're thinking about how your kids or your kids' kids will follow in your faith. As many have deconstructed in these recent years, they've changed their faith process, and maybe they're pushing back on the faith that you raised them in or the culture of faith that you've tried to instill in them. Maybe right now you're a highly successful individual, but you're wondering, what about our marriage? What's it going to be like? What will life be like after our kids and career are long past? Will we still have the same sort of love and interest for each other? Will we be in a place with which we consider that our lives matter now, even though our marriage and our careers have changed? Perhaps you're thinking here about your legacy. What will people say after me? What about my calling? What about my purpose? And that big, important question, Jesus, how do you feel about all of this? Considering these questions and being certain that you're in a place with which you're accelerating is one that we want to answer for you. Let me introduce myself and tell you my context for coming in front of you today. First of all, I've been married to Heather for 28 years. She and I are deeply in love. We've got 4 children and 2 sons-in-law. That means that 2 of our daughters, who we love dearly, are married and flourishing in their lives. I have had the chance to work in companies like Edwards Life Sciences. I've been a management consultant where I focus on strategy, culture, and turnaround expertise. I have been able to live and work all over the US, Europe, the Middle East, the Caribbean, Japan, Singapore, India, and beyond. My clients that I get to work with have been publicly traded, private, family owned businesses, and I get to work with nonprofits and ministries and board of directors. All of that because I really am passionate about leadership and working in leadership in a way with which I can help them find the maximization of their business and their careers. Now, I currently lead. I'm not only a consultant, I'm the CEO for Priority Living, which is the umbrella ministry for the master's program. I'm the board chairman for Uncharted Ministries, which is a Middle East missionary organization. I'm the founder of my company, Centix. My wife and I formed DM Ranch a number of years ago. And I love coaching my children, and I find myself being a father coach as a big, important part of what I do to the next generation of our family. All of these things hang around and hang on to me, whether they're brands and putting them together. But the most important brand is understanding, God, who did you make me to be? Because I want to find the thing that's my unique genius, the thing that God put into my DNA. And as I expose that, find ways to apply that to things that may be of my creation or other people's creation and help them to accelerate. My company, Centix, we get to work with companies that look for ways to accelerate through their people. Most leaders look at their businesses and think, we know how to do our business, but we don't know how to keep the best people, lower confusion, and accelerate our culture. We help them to make healthy cultures and high achieving people. And so we help executives through that. And then, as I told you before, Heather and I started DM Ranch, and our event center is places where we bring people together for worship, for consulting, for marriage events, for birthdays, and places that they can come and God can be honored. And then I get to speak a number of places, whether it's in churches or in the master's program, where I'm encouraging people with the message that they can leverage their life for more. Now, as you consider it, I want you to think about, what do you want from this webinar, this time that we're together? I want to promise you that by the end of this, you'll have a new mindset on an approach to a very meaningful life. I'm going to help you to pursue your calling and your life's purpose. I want to evaporate any confusion around those words. I want you to have a successful approach to maximizing the faith that you've got in Christ for your whole family. And then I want to give you a plan to meet with me or one of our coaches to go further and say, okay, I've heard things that I can't look away from. I'm interested in getting into implementation. Now, to go further, I need to go backwards with you. I want to take you back to where perhaps your life started. Um, when you were developing as a young person, you were discerning, who can I be someday? Dad, what do you think about? Mom, I want to be. And you've been discerning through your youth. You've been going through education, but somewhere along the way, there was a dotted red line that came across the top of your life. Well, you didn't know what that really meant, and you launched your adult life. And as you got started, you started to concede to the possible. Look, the most that I can achieve in my life is, and probably the best that I can hope for will probably be. And so that red line stays there. That ceiling of complexity, what is that? Well, Dan Sullivan, the founder of Strategic Coach, says that it's the aggregate effect of the voices in your life that have claimed but lack authority, suggesting limitations and the scope and significance of what you could dream or achieve in your life in all categories. Wow, whether it was your family of origin, your accent, your sex, your male or female, your place that you're from, who you know, all of those things came together to say, well, you know what? The most that I can expect is X. And so you live the American dream. And that dream says that at some day, I'm going to have my funding, my retirement set to a place with which I don't have to take a paycheck anymore. I'll go into retirement, which is really decline. And the moment you announce that retirement, you're irrelevant. You're a lame duck. Your relevancy is dropping fast, fast, fast. And really, what you're hoping for is that with your butt in the sand and your toes in the water, you're hoping that it'll matter, that you'll enjoy yourself, and hopefully the kids will call, but then they don't. And then the most relevant things are the weather, your pills, and how come my kids aren't calling me, and why nobody cares about me anymore when I call them. This is decline. This is the great retirement. And there's something wrong with that, because I've prepared all my life for my career, and the bulk, the 40 years perhaps or longer of my life lived for my career. And then a life spent recovering from my career. There's something that's deeply wrong with this model. And I want to point it out to you, because you were made for more. Going back to the way that we think about this, I want you to consider for yourself that the traditional approach needs to be pushed back on. And if we will today say for ourselves, no matter if I'm already in retirement or early in my career or smack dab in the middle of the best years of my production, I'm going to challenge my life. And I first decide for myself that that ceiling of complexity, it needs to stop, because I serve the God that has a cattle on 1,000 hills. He can provide for me in ways that I've never imagined. And so I unlock the possibility of what could be. And I put myself on a trajectory to achieve for the rest of my life. And rather than thinking about a day with which I decline, I'll be going after calling, career, kids, and stewardship for the rest of my days. I'll be working to be an increase no matter what the IRS considers me, no matter what tax documents are issued to me or otherwise. I'll be in creative increase, not decrease. Can you imagine that life that says that I'll flourish all the way to my dying breath? But you have to stop and consider, where am I at today? Maybe like a halftime moment. You know, what halftime looks like is to stop the game right in the middle. The ref blows the whistle, everybody files into the locker room, and we look at each other and say, has what we've done to this moment got us to where we hope to be? Or do we need to put in new plays? Do we need to change personnel? Do we need to have new thinking to go out at it and attack it again? Now, the rest of your life begins when you start to go into the locker room and say, I want a new vision for what comes next. You see, the master's program is exactly that. We gather together on a quarterly basis and between those meetings to push each other to see to it that we go into the locker room and say, hang on, what new plays do I need to put in? What adjustments can I be making so that as I move through these days, I will get incredible outcomes more than can be expected? But you have to decide for yourself that you have something, because we're looking for Christian leaders, men and women who have done well in the marketplace and decided that I've been given too much to just squander it and outcome so little. We want to help you explore the possibilities. And once you find those possibilities in you, we want you to start to expose some of them to God. Are you in this? And would you resource this? And after we find the places where God's at work in you and around you, we want to fully exploit that so that you live an extraordinary life's mission, a life on purpose. But here's what you have to understand about the situation is that you can't become extraordinary under the influence of ordinary. Look, I attend my church every weekend. We love our community. But in that community is rare a person with which they're saying, I'm ready to accelerate, not just be in retreat. Every Sunday morning when we're worshiping, the main things that are focused on are depression, drugs, divorce. And those 3 Ds don't talk about discipleship or accelerating me for who God has made me to be. I want to tell you about somebody that did that in a big, big way. Kurt Hensley is a close friend. And Kurt is one of these guys that is an entrepreneur's entrepreneur. He's got ideas that are just falling out of him. And with all of that success, he was the kind of guy that was finding himself winning, 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 but then saying, how do I make all this work for more than just my career? Kurt, through the master's program, has become the most influential kingdom leader in all of San Diego. I would challenge you to find people that love Jesus in San Diego that haven't been affected by or know directly the effects of Kurt Hensley. And Kurt, as a leader, has made his business continue, work to make it as self-running as possible. And while he's gotten headroom and margin, applied that into his kingdom leadership and applied it to a fantastic family. This is all possible, but we need to start and understand, God, what did you expect out of me? Well, this is your life's prime objective. Jesus said this in John 15. He said, you didn't choose me, but I choose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last. And so that whatever you do, ask in my name, the Father will give you. Now, that statement there, so that you might go and bear fruit, Now we need to figure that out because I want to be a part of a system that is using me to be a part of fruit bearing so that I would honor God for who he is. Now, let's go into it to understand what that looks like because Jesus started to explain some of these things, but he did them in stories. And if you look into Matthew 13, you'll see that he brings out the parable of the sower. Now, Jesus knew the marketplace. He was in the marketplace prior to his ministry as a carpenter. And when he talked about this, he was speaking to the hearts of those that were farming, and they understand that I need to put seed into the ground so that I can get increase, and I'm going to eat some, I'm going to sell some, I'm going to replant some. He understood what it meant to be in the marketplace. And as he told the parable of the sower, Jesus explained that there are 4 fields with which the gospel could go out. After he told his story, he explained to his disciples exactly what he meant. And he said that this was the gospel of the kingdom that he was sharing out there, and that there were 4 fields where the gospel could get into. And in that first soil, he explains this is the one when anyone hears the message about the kingdom and doesn't understand it. The evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in their heart. This is the seed sown along the path. Now, you've known people in your life that are resistant, perhaps atheist, and saying, hey, God just doesn't exist, so I don't want to talk about that. That's not possible. And when the kingdom's seed lands on them, there's nothing to grow. But in the second field, Jesus said, this is the seed falling on the rocky ground, referring to someone who hears the word and at once receives it with joy. But since they have no root, they only last a short time. And when trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. You know, many people try Jesus on like a pair of shoes, and Jesus is one of many gods instead of the only God. And so when they find that this isn't working, how come Jesus isn't, my Coke machine where I put the quarter in, I pray and I hit the button and I expect him to do for me what I want him to do. I say, what about something else? And I try on other religions. But then there's the third soil, and I want to concentrate most on these third and fourth soils, because here in the third, Jesus described it as the seed falling among the thorns, it referring to someone who hears the word, but the worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth choke out the word, making it unfruitful. Here in the third soil, what we can understand is that we can gain root and start to sprout, but never have fruit. And what are the 2 things that are going to take us out of that? Well, one, the worries in this life. And how much anxiety do we have in spite of all the convenience, the electronic systems and abilities that we've got? Worry and anxiety are spiking incredibly high. And then what about money, which seems to put us in a place always of deception and helping us to chase something that's never going to make us happy? Well, those are the 2 things that can take us out of the game of fruit. But Jesus described the fourth soil, and here's our opportunity. He said, but the one who received the seed that fell on good soil is the man who hears the word and understands it. He produces a crop yielding 160 or 30 times what was sown. And that's an incredible thought, right? It is to imagine that God, you would give me the opportunity to multiply what's inside of me 160 or 30 times. Now, I want to be alive with high impact, but it really brings us to the question of where am I on this spectrum of kingdom engagement? When you think about your productivity, maybe you feel at some level that the anxieties that you've got and the chasing after the golden ring is putting you in a place with which you're unsure about your kids following your faith and unsure about what will be the fruit of your life. But maybe you're looking for something that would say, hey, what if I could get into an ROI system that had 100x tied to it? Now, anybody that comes to you with an investment opportunity that says 100x, you're going to back up a little bit and say, hold on. But we're talking about God here. And if he is willing to do through me 100 times. Maybe if 100 is too much, he's still offering 60. If 60 is too much, what about 30? That's quite an offer, and one that we want you to explore. But to do that, you have to understand that to really get after 100x, you can't do that until you understand your unique kingdom assignment, your kingdom calling, the thing that God made you for. And we want to help you find that in the master's program. We're going to get into great detail to help you find out your spiritual DNA, the things that are your giftings, the passions and God's calling in your life, so that you find the focus to go after. Let me distinguish career and calling for you. Career is what you're paid for, but calling, it's what you're made for. Career was what you were hired to do. Calling, it's what you were wired to do. It's in that DNA. Career pays well today, gratefully, but calling amazingly is going to pay well on that day. Wow, that day. What does that day look like? Well, I want to be clear with you because it leads to a big question. All of us look for scoreboards. In the marketplace, we want to be able to measure ourselves for success. Well, I want you to know there will be a score that measures our success in eternity. And with the time that we've got left, we want to be banking points to the good, for everything will be scored at the end. In fact, Paul said this to the believers. He said, "For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each one may receive what is due for what he has done in the body, whether good or evil." And that's a big deal, right? Because to imagine I would stand, and I will, and you as a believer, if you know Jesus, will stand in front of him and have an accounting for my entire life. And that means for those who don't know Jesus yet, your works don't matter. When you receive Jesus and have faith in him, he's going to cover you, and he will cover all that you've done, past, present, and future. It's only by faith that I'm reconciled to God through Jesus. But once I know Jesus, game on, man. The clock is started. And for the rest of my days, now I'm banking for a moment with which I'm striving forward to see to it that I will receive the prize and my works count. Now, most of us, we spend decades and so much time finding and refining our career. I still do it. I invest in myself to better myself professionally. And I'm imagining you've done the same thing. But how much time have you spent working and refining the calling that God's got on your life? I want to give you an example of another just amazing man, dear friend, Gerhardt. Gerhardt's a business owner. He's a second generation business owner who's got an incredible presence in the US with his Bolt business. Now, he's someone that grew his career and his family, and with all of that success, found himself at a moment with which he said, I'm overwhelmed by it. I need to figure this out. He said, until TMP, I had rarely considered my career and my ministry could be united while prioritizing those in my life that I cherish. You see, remembering back to Shohei Ohtani, who said, you know what, you can do all of these things. There's a way. There's a way to be a great professional, fantastic income and success. There's a way to be an amazing husband, an incredible father, and at the same time, most importantly, being on mission, the mission that Jesus gave us. But you've got to have a 100x plan, a 100x process. And we're going to be able to do that for you. I want to give you a process with which you can go after this, and this not be some concept, but a reality, like the reality that it's been for the thousands of men and women. We've had successful Super Bowl winning quarterback Trent Dilfer be a part and graduate the master's program. We've got U.S. Senator Ted Budd, who was a part of the master's program and graduated, and many thousands of other very successful people that are going after it for Jesus at 100x. But you have to decide that you're going to do it. This can't be a mental exercise. It can't be a check the box. It becomes a lifestyle. So when are you going to do it? When is there going to be a better time than now? Transformation has to start now for you to pursue 100x. Now, here's where I'm going to give you the opportunity to go to the next step. Now, I want to try this out. So if you're with me now, get out your phone, and I'm going to need you to try out this QR code. Go to this QR code, and this QR code is going to be your ticket to connect with me or one of our coaches. And we're going to spend time together unpacking you. Listen, this isn't a training. This is to look at your life and give you these strategies and then get them applied to you. So if you'll come join us for an hour, we'll spend time together unpacking this process, really the secret sauce of what we do, and help you to go to the next step with a coach here right now. And I'm going to give you just one more second to scan this QR code, because it's going to be your chance right now to sign up online and book time with me or one of our coaches. And we're going to spend time with you putting in practice some of these ideas right away so that you can decide, is this the right thing for me to do? Mark Cuban, here where I'm at in Dallas, beloved and famous, not only as the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, but as a member of the Shark Tank. His success has been born from this statement. He said, some of the best investments I've ever made in my life were investing in myself first and foremost. Look, you've got to sharpen yourself. You've got to decide that God made you for this moment, and there's something for you to go after, but you're going to have to find the mentors and the people that are not just people without marketplace experience, people who are very kind and know scripture really well, but are not going to give you the strategies for marketplace success and ultimately kingdom and family success. But to go after that, it's a collaborative effort. This isn't a cowboy, you go alone somewhere and get this done. This is come be in a room full of men and women who are like you. They have the same knots in their life, the same success, and the same desires. And when you talk to them, you're going to speak a common language of collaboration that says, I'm after it in the kingdom. Because what we care about is what Jesus told us to do, is fruit. And I understand, to whom much has been given, much is expected. And if you've been given much, you're expected for a lot of fruit. So what's that going to look like for you to achieve 100x? I want you to have a direct definition for your personal path to 100x. I've enjoyed our time together. The Master's Program is a quarterly meeting where we come together to bring men and women of success together to accelerate them in the marketplace, in their family, and in their kingdom calling through a life that accelerates balance, margin, and focus. I hope that you've enjoyed this time, that you've clicked on this link, and that you use that QR code to sign up for some time with me. I'm looking forward to being with you. God bless you.